What if I told you that one company, a company that builds rockets, runs satellites, owns an AI chatbot, and dreams of colonizing Mars, is about to become the most valuable company ever to go public in the entire history of financial markets? We're talking about a valuation of $1.75 trillion. That's bigger than Meta, bigger than Berkshire Hathaway, bigger than Tesla, and it would raise $75 billion in a single day, more than double the previous record held by Saudi Aramco. Ladies and gentlemen, SpaceX is going public. And whether you're an investor, a space enthusiast, or just someone who watches the news, this is the story you need to understand right now. On May 20th, 2026, SpaceX filed its S-1 registration statement with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, officially kicking off what analysts are already calling the most consequential IPO in corporate history. The company, formerly known as Space Exploration Technologies Corp., plans to list on the Nasdaq under the ticker symbol SPCX. The target date? June 12, 2026. Leading the offering are the biggest names on Wall Street: Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Citi, and JP Morgan. And here's what makes this even more remarkable. This IPO isn't just open to big institutions. Retail brokerages, including Schwab, Fidelity, Robinhood, SoFi, and E-Trade, are all named as selling group members. In other words, everyday investors will have the chance to buy SpaceX stock on day one. But before you reach for your brokerage app, let's talk about what you're actually buying. SpaceX in 2026 is not just a rocket company. It is, in fact, three completely different businesses rolled into one publicly traded entity. First, the launch business. SpaceX has completed more than 134 launches in a single year, more than every other launch provider in the world combined. Its Falcon 9 rocket boasts a mission success rate of 99% and has fundamentally transformed how humanity reaches orbit. The company has launched more than 80% of all mass sent to orbit globally each year since 2023. Second, Starlink. This is the real cash machine. Starlink is a constellation of roughly 9,600 satellites in low Earth orbit, serving more than 10.3 million subscribers across 164 countries. It generated around $11 billion in revenue in 2025, and projections suggest it could reach $15 to $16 billion in 2026 alone. The segment's EBITDA margin sits at an extraordinary 63%, among the highest of any technology company in the world. Third, xAI. In February 2026, SpaceX completed its acquisition of Elon Musk's artificial intelligence company xAI, the creator of the Grok chatbot. This was an all-stock deal that merged Musk's AI ambitions directly into SpaceX's balance sheet. It's a bet on orbital AI computing, the idea that AI workloads could one day be processed from satellites in space. Three businesses, one stock, one massive valuation. Now let's get into the numbers, because this is where it gets both exciting and complicated. SpaceX reported combined revenues of approximately $18.67 billion in 2025. Sounds impressive, and it is, but here's the catch. The company also posted a net loss of nearly $5 billion in the same year. How is that possible? Two words: xAI spending. The S-1 filing revealed that SpaceX directed roughly 60% of its total capital spending, about $20 billion, towards its AI division in 2025. The xAI segment alone burned through $12.7 billion in capital expenditures. And in just the first quarter of 2026, the net loss hit $4.3 billion in a single quarter. In 2024, before the xAI merger, SpaceX was actually profitable, posting net income of $791 million. The merger turned a healthy, profitable rocket company into a cash-burning AI venture overnight. So what does a $1.75 trillion valuation actually reflect? At 10 times its 2025 revenue, SpaceX would be worth roughly $187 billion, a fraction of its IPO target. To justify $1.75 trillion, investors would need to believe SpaceX will achieve revenues exceeding $150 billion by 2030, with flawless execution across Starlink, AI, and its Starship rocket program. That's not impossible, but it is an enormous premium to pay up front. And speaking of Starship, This is the wild card that could either validate or destroy the entire investment thesis. Starship is SpaceX's next-generation, fully reusable Super Heavy rocket. SpaceX spent $3 billion on Starship R&D in 2025 alone, and the program has consumed more than $15 billion in total investment through that year. The S-1 filing states that SpaceX expects Starship to begin delivering payloads to orbit in the second half of 2026, but the program remains in active flight testing, and those timelines have slipped before. Why does Starship matter so much? Because everything else depends on it. Next-generation Starlink V3 satellites, each capable of 1 terabyte per second, 20 times the current capacity, can only be deployed at scale using Starship's massive payload fairing. Starship is also the vehicle intended to carry humans to the Moon and eventually Mars, and it's central to SpaceX's vision of building orbital AI data centers beginning as early as 2028. If Starship delivers, the $1.75 trillion valuation may look cheap in hindsight. If it faces further delays, the whole thesis starts to unravel.
There's one more thing every potential investor must understand, and it goes beyond the financials. Elon Musk controls 85% of SpaceX's voting power. That means even after the IPO, public shareholders will have virtually no ability to influence the direction of the company. The S-1 also revealed some eyebrow-raising related party transactions. xAI leases equipment from Valor Equity Partners, a SpaceX board members firm, in a deal worth over $20 billion in total. And X, formerly Twitter, also part of the SpaceX umbrella, saw its advertising revenue fall by $100 million in the first quarter. This is not a traditional corporate governance structure. If you buy SPCX, you are, in a very real sense, betting on one man's vision, judgment, and execution, with very little recourse if things go wrong.
So, let's bring it all together. Here's the bull case and the bear case. The bull case. SpaceX has a near monopoly on reusable launch vehicles. No competitor, not Blue Origin, not Rocket Lab, not United Launch Alliance, comes close to matching SpaceX's launch cadence or cost structure. Starlink's 63% EBITDA margin is world-class and still growing. Once SPCX begins trading, it will automatically qualify for the NASDAQ 100 after just 15 days, triggering forced buying from every index fund and ETF tracking the index. If Starlink hits 100 million subscribers and Starship achieves sub-$100 per kilogram launch economics, this valuation could look modest a decade from now. The bear case. The valuation assumes near-perfect execution across multiple unproven business lines simultaneously. AI is burning through cash at an annualized rate exceeding $30 billion. Starlink's average revenue per user has declined from $99 per month in 2023 to $66 per month in early 2026, suggesting competitive price pressure. And the governance structure means retail investors are passengers, not participants in this journey. As one analyst put it, the first trade will show you the demand. The S-1 shows you what that demand is actually paying for.
Here are the key dates to mark on your calendar. May 20, 2026, S-1 prospectus publicly released. June 4th, 2026, roadshow begins. Executives pitch to institutional investors. June 11th, 2026, pricing set. June 12th, 2026, SPCX begins trading on the NASDAQ. Whether SpaceX becomes the greatest investment of the 21st century or a cautionary tale about paying too much for a dream will depend on what happens in the years that follow. But one thing is certain, the world has never seen a company quite like this go public before. It is part infrastructure, part moonshot, part geopolitical force, and now, potentially, part of your investment portfolio. The rocket is on the launch pad. The countdown has begun. Will you be watching? If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe for daily breakdowns of the biggest stories in business and technology, and drop in the comments, would you buy SpaceX stock on IPO day? See you in the next one. Rocket!